Following Willie more and more. Back in the NRL as Willie makes. I've forgotten how big Willie actually is. Perhaps the presence of Willie and the Panthers looking at his imposing frame.
I'm a 25-minute man. Oh, you got skill, son.
Uppercut right hand by Big Willie.
Too fancy for you.
Welcome to episode number 25 of The Take with Willie and Ian. It is Willie and Ian. Gee, we're getting good at this Zoom thing, aren't we, Will?
What is this? Is this our fifth time? Fifth week? 5 weeks in a row? It's terrible.
No, it's more than that, I reckon.
Oh, really? Oh,
We're getting used
to it. It's all right.
Yeah.
Just the norm now, isn't it?
Well, we're brought to you by bettingsite.com.au. Thanks again to them. We've also got Yamaha at the bottom now. They've got the headphones, but I can't wear them because I had the cancers cut out from the old.
How is it? How's your ear?
Mate, it's all right. I'll tell you what, we had.
Is that painful? Is that painful?
Not
putting that in your ear?
Yeah, it's actually
stupid
but
question.
We had a little session with my little boy in the park. We allowed two people in the park and ran him through some drills on Sunday. And
yes.
I was holding a bag, and then in one of the drills, when I was attempting to hold you back from one of the defensive drills, and you elbowed me straight in the ear. I didn't say anything at the time though, but yeah, that set me back.
I forgot because you're like, sorry, let's just change drills.
That set me back. Let's go a different drill now. Yeah. Speaking of things that aren't great, other than my ear, we just want to send our best wishes to Todai Kefu, the Wallaby legend. He had a horrific incident in the last couple of days where, he's been stabbed in a home invasion. It's just an awful, awful situation. And from all reports, he's up and around now. Yeah. We just want to wish him all the best.
Yeah, wish you all the best, Todai. He's such a role model within the Tongan community as well. Like, he's played for the Wallabies, but he's Tongan. And all the guys, they've got so much respect for him. He was flying the flag in the late 90s and 2000s. He was the best Wallabies forward out there. So, prayers to you, Big Todai. Hopefully, I'm glad that he's okay, because that was terrible news. It's awful what they did. I hopefully get that charged with murder and go straight to jail, those little pricks.
Yeah, it's awful. And also Andrew Fafita as well, speaking of, it's been a bad week for Tongan footballers, actually. But Andrew Fafita had that shocking injury where he had a swollen larynx and he's struggling to breathe. It's a bad look. But he's apparently he's had surgery and he's doing all right. So
yeah, best wishes, Big Fafita. He's a good kid, man. He's a good dude. He's had a bit of a rough year, so this is not a good way to end it. Just get well, get back into preseason and get back into it next year. So terrible way, man. As long as they're both all right, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Well, I think, we sort of make jokes about things every week, but there's nothing funny about what's happened there. And we really hope they are okay, because that's...
These guys have got families, mate. They're all family men, first of all. They're football players and all that kind of stuff later.
All right. So let's go into, speaking of things that are truly awful, the Parramatta Eels, William. They are...
Yeah, not good.
They stink. And I'll tell you what's happened at the moment. Whenever sides are winning, then things get pushed under the carpet and nobody ever talks about it. The Eels have had 4 pretty average losses in a row. All of a sudden now they're in the press because apparently the wives are upset because such and such has got a bigger room, and they're reporting all of these things that, there's off-field dramas. And now, how much of this is actually, do you reckon, how much of this is actually a drama, and how much is this people trying to look for reasons why Parramatta are playing so badly?
It's a little bit of both. I know for a fact, probably about 10 weeks ago, I spoke to someone at Parramatta who's playing in that team, not happy with what's going on. It is internal with amongst a few players. That's definitely happening. I never thought it would affect the way that they were playing, because at this time they were, coming third or fourth or something like that. So it's obviously, this is before the lockdown, so it's come to a head now. Obviously players aren't getting along that well, but I never thought it would, even if things happen like that off the field. I've never been in a team where people just didn't like each other flat out and it was both open. I've never been in a team like that, so I wouldn't know how to deal with it. It'd probably be up to the leadership group there and the coach to fix that if it's out in the open. I'm not sure it was, but maybe it is now, you know, especially living with each other, being with each other every day. That's a good way to sort it out. Or if you just say, if you were pissed off with someone, then you're with him every day and you probably front him.
Well, that definitely does magnify issues, because if you think about sides that are, you know, that are getting on really well and it galvanizes a team, it's like you're on a big holiday, you know, you're hanging out, you're doing all the things together. But if there's tiny little issues, then that's going to magnify them to a level where they just, I don't know, do you deal with them as a group, or do you wait for the individuals to sort out their problems with the individuals?
If I was in a team like that and I knew two individuals weren't getting along, the leadership group would sit you down and sort it out. And there's things going on that's bigger than you and your little tiff at the moment, your personal little thing that's going on. You're trying to win a premiership. You can do what you want after the season. You can deal with it then. And I just don't think the leadership's there in that club. That should be from the coach. And if the coach doesn't know, he should know. Because if he has that relationship with his players, the coach would find out. You know what I mean? Like guys like Wayne Bennett, Craig Bellamy, all the good coaches, Trent Robinson, they find out and they get to the end of it and they sort it out before it gets to anything like this. But I'm not blaming that little riff, but it's sometimes subconsciously could eat at you all year. And then like when you put them in this, everything magnifies. Have a look. You're in each other's pockets. It'd be awful if you didn't like someone and you're in the same sort of playing group. You know what I mean? It's sort of you build that sort of rift. And that's what sort of looks like it's happening. But it looks like it's gone from that carried onto the field. They don't look like they're interested. It's like they're coming 8th, 9th, or 10th. It's like, oh, if we fucking lose, who cares?
Let's get out of 16th, the way they are at the moment, the way they're playing.
Let's just get this shit out of the way and go to Vegas. No, Vegas, nothing's happening.
With not the whole team though, just bits, just splinter groups. So you started off with, you know, you had enormous success, like unusual amounts of success to walk into a side that was as good as that Canterbury side was in the early 2000s. And, you know, and then when you left there, you had mixed success at different clubs, but you went through some pretty lean years with a couple of different clubs. Was there ever a time where the players, I mean, obviously they're under a huge amount of pressure in terms of there's media stuff, there's internal stuff. Have you ever seen a team turn on each other in that way? Like that seems to me an unusual circumstance to have blokes that have done the preseason and everything together to start ripping into each other.
Yeah, I've never, as I said at the start, I've never seen any teammate dislike each other that open, where they're like, you can't be in the same room as each other or anything like that. And I was at Manly, where DCE and Brett Stewart, they were supposedly a rift. No, they got along. We went out for lunches. We had beers together after the game. There was nothing. They just kept it professional. That's the thing. You got to keep things professional, even if you don't like the bloke. You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen anything like it. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think it's up to the leadership group in that club to sort that shit out within the players, because the players would know about it. You know what I mean? This is all on the players group. You know, like big clubs, good clubs, clubs that are tight with each other would sort this shit out straight away, because everything's out in the open.
It's funny too, isn't it? Because if you look at a club like Parramatta, they've had success, but they haven't had a lot of success. And all of a sudden they've got a number of players. The salary cap is what it is. People get paid money, and that's part and parcel of having a salary cap. You got players that get paid more, you get players that paid less. But Parramatta have got a number of players that are getting paid good money, but they haven't probably brought the success that sort of price tag expects. And they're not the only team that does it, but they've got a number of mid-range players that are earning a lot of money. And they've got a lot of young players coming through that they're going to have to spend money to retain. Like Papali'i was on a cut price deal. That won't stay because people will be falling over themselves. The big thing with Gutherson for me is if you think he's a player that's worth 750, but you have to pay him $1 million because he's your marquee player, all of a sudden there's 250 grand that can't go to someone else. And there's a knock-on effect to that, because then other people start to think, oh, well, I should be getting paid this, Gutho's getting that. Now, there's no question he is the leader of that side, but should he be getting paid that sort of money just because he's a leader? It really does. It creates that mid-range side where people are getting paid money and it's really hard to control a salary cap.
See, I'm all for players. I don't really like speaking on players' money or anything like that, so I don't really comment, because I think Gutho deserves every single cent he gets. But I can understand from what you're saying, the angle that you are saying, it does cause little bits of rips. But for him, you know, he deserves everything. In the last 3 or 4 years, I said last week, he's been a top 3 or 4 fullback in the game, and that's saying a fair bit. You know, he pushed himself in the Origin side. He's been a big integral part of Parramatta, being in the finals for the last couple of years. Yes, they've fallen short, but that should never dictate how much money this kid gets. And at the moment now, just because he hasn't got an Australian jersey or anything like that, or a current Origin player, that's because just the climate that we're in. What sort of players he has to go against. You know, the talent pool in fullback is unbelievable. But he is a top player. He deserves $1 million plus because of the circumstance. You know what I mean? Like, it's not by default or anything like that. This is the money that he deserves. He's the best player in that club. Salary cap says your best player gets $1 million plus. That's where he sits. He's got the best agent in the game, Semi Ayub, and he will milk that club for what it's got. Who else are you going to get?
And that's such a good point, Will, because I feel like I see Gutherson, you know, and whether it's coming from Parramatta or not, but there's leaks obviously that he wants $1 million a year and all this. And to from my perspective, that's no one's business. Like if someone wants to pay Clint Gutherson $1 million a year, if someone if I got offered an extra $10 a week to go and do a podcast with someone else, Will, I'd take it. 100% I would. Straight away. I would take that money and I would go straight to the tape with Ian and someone else. But, you know, anyone who thinks they wouldn't take more in a workplace is an idiot. So
I don't like the fact that the media is trying to control the narrative, like Gutho doesn't deserve that money. Look at the runs on the board. He's probably got like player of the year. He's in the top 3 all the time. He deserves his money. Pay that man his money. Every other player. This $1 million is not that. It's not like that. It's not weird anymore when they go, he's on $1 million. You're going to have one player in every club over $1 million. And that's what the salary cap is. Because the talent, just say our talent, you've probably got 4 or 5 stars in your team, superstars. So you've got to pay all the rest of fucking role players. Do you know what I mean? So you probably have a winger on 250. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to really pay everybody like 400, 500 unless they're decent first graders. But your stars are going to get $1 million plus. That's just the way it is. And the talent pool, as I said, you go further down the roster, they ain't getting shit because they're not that good of players.
That's the Melbourne way of doing things. That's like pay your key positions and then get other people to do a job.
Look at the call. Like Reid Marnie deserves some big money, and Gutho deserves it. Nathan Brown's been pretty good for him the couple of years. You know, Big Joe, Paulo, Big Cam, like Gillard, they're going to get some decent money. But like Gutho's your man. He's your man at Parramatta. Like you have a look at all the statistics. He leads everything. He might be in a little bit of a slump right now with the rest of the guys, but mate, usually he's your best player. Yeah. You know, like, so that therefore you pay him $1 million plus, regardless of anything. Like, he gives a shit. You think he gives a fuck about what's happening in the papers? Like, who the hell let that out from Parramatta trying to think it's going to do you good?
It's stupid. It's so dumb. You got to protect your players.
Going back. Sorry. So going back to at the start where you said, you know, some wives and that have been, you know, whinging about the rooms. And I wonder how truthful that is, first of all. But I mean, I would go back if this was actually a case. I'm blaming the GM or the football manager. He's the one who allocates that. So just say a person like Mitchell Moses, maybe he's single, maybe he's not. He's got his partner up. So the way that they've been saying it is like the players that are, you know, just say you're a 17th man or something like that. You're not a big name player, but you've got a wife and 3 kids. They're up there, and so someone's still up in the penthouse, and these guys are getting the shitty rooms. That's what I hear, which is terrible because Mitch Moses shouldn't have to make that decision. The GM or the football manager should go and allocate all the rules according to your family, how big your family is, not how big your contract is, because that's terrible. It's a terrible way. If you're going to leave it to the players, they're not going to really make the best decision. You're going to make a selfish decision in there. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and they shouldn't. I know.
Players are going to be like, "Oh, give me the penthouse. I want the penthouse." If I know that someone's there,
I don't think so either. But I'm just saying, if you were in that position, like it's a football manager's fault. You don't try and blame the other players if you are a wife or anything started whinging, and that is because it's not on the players. You know, like you get divvied all your room up and you got your roommates and the single blokes are hanging out together, and, you know, like married blokes, you've got that, you've got kids, you get the biggest room. You'd think if you were a player, if I was single, had my partner up there, I'd be like, just give me a single room. 3 kids. If Marco Mealy's going there and he's got 2 kids, he's getting the biggest room. This is unprecedented, this shit. You know, it's different. You're not going into, there's no hierarchy. So, like, you know, if you are, but if it's happening at Parramatta, if that shit is happening and they're not doing that, god damn, that is selfish. I fucking hate selfish people.
It's interesting too. We talked about money and contracts and things, and Connor Watson, he's a really interesting test case because he doesn't. First of all, he doesn't have a manager, which I think is fantastic. I think these players, but he wasn't happy with the Knights' first offer from all reports, and so he actually rang around a few of the coaches and said we'd be interested, and he's got a good relationship with Trent Robinson. He signed.
He's not that good a manager. He lost 150 grand.
But you know what, Will? You know what he did, and he's taken less money. And we've talked about it before that players will take less money. The Broncos used to be like players will take less money to go to clubs that win, and the Roosters win. There's no question, and he is a really, really good signing for the Roosters. The way he has been playing, and he's a massive loss for the Knights. So. What happens there? What does that say? What does that say about the Knights that are blokes willing to take unders to go to a club that's more successful? And would that deal have happened if there was a manager in his ear going, take the money, and then not thinking about his football?
Yeah, I think it's great from Connor Watson what he's doing. With no manager, but it doesn't reflect good on Newcastle. Back to the original one, it doesn't really reflect that good. They've got all the facilities up there. They've got a great squad. They've got a squad that should be higher than equal 8th or 7th or whatever they're coming. They should have a dead set shot at the premiership or a top 4 spot if they're fair income. You know what I mean? But they've underachieved, and maybe he's just seen something where he's been at the Roosters and the coaching from Trent Robinson, the culture at the Roosters where you're supposed to win, and he's probably just sick as turning up and not knowing what team that turns up. Where what team turns up. When you put that Roosters jersey on, you put a Penrith one, South and Melbourne, you know what team's turning up. So he's probably, and he's not from Newcastle. He's probably sick of this, the one team, one town mentality. The Newcastle people get into you. If you're not playing good, and that team, the Newcastle people think that team should be nearly in the grand final. That's the way they are. You got Kalen Pong, you got Mitchell Pearce, Saifidi, Clemmer, like Tyson Frizzell, all these names you're rattling off, they expect to win. And a coach with a staff bigger than anyone in the whole comp. So I think losing Connor Watson doesn't reflect good on the Knights. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and just say, look, he wanted to probably come home.
I don't know, Will. I look at that Knights side and I watch them every week. And I look at that as a fan. Like if I was a fan of the Newcastle Knights, I look at Connor Watson, and Connor Watson week in, week out, he tries his ass off every week. He creates spark, whether he comes off the bench and or whether he starts. He creates a fulcrum for their attack. And if you had 13 Connor Watsons in that Newcastle side, they win a lot more games. So you've taken a bloke that's probably the one bloke who's put in all year, and I don't know whether they disrespected him or whether he's just had enough. Either way, the bloke's gone. So I don't know. If I'm the Knights up there, I'm starting to ask some serious questions about what they're trying to build. And his best mates with Kalen Ponga. That doesn't help.
I know for sure. Like there's going to be some questions asked this year if Newcastle fall out of the 8 or if they just don't. They just smash in the first round because something's not right up there. You got everything given to you in Newcastle. Granted, it's been pretty shitty circumstances for the rugby league, but everyone's going through it. So there's no excuses. They've got one of the best facilities up there, the best town to play in. I love playing for Newcastle there, and I just don't understand why they're not winning. Yes, they should be sitting at least 4th right now. They've dropped about 6 or 7 games. It's alarming. Connor Watson apparently is a cracking bloke too, and he's really good around the locker room and really just good in the community as well. So I thought he would have loved Newcastle and stayed there for another 3 or 4 years, honestly. But maybe he's tight with his family. So we don't know all these little things. Maybe he's close with his family. Maybe he misses home. Like not being able to come back all the time. And where's he from? He's an Eastern Suburbs boy, isn't he?
I don't think originally. I don't know. I actually thought he was from the Central Coast, but
he's a coast boy, isn't he? Yeah,
I think he might be. But I don't know. Maybe he misses mansions. Is that still there? The Empire. Not that anyone can go there anymore.
I don't know what he. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a weird one because I thought Connor Watson's played good enough this year to get a decent contract. He has been injured for the last couple of years, which sucks. But he's been solid for him this year.
Yeah,
maybe they got another.
I think from a football perspective, I think they've struggled to work out what he is up there. I think what his football needs is he needs a defined role, and I think Trent Barrett will provide him Trent Robinson will provide him with a defined role.
And what do you think that is?
Look, when he started at the Roosters, he was playing fullback, and then he's moved in. He's proved basically he can play fullback, he can play in the middle. Some players, and it's not just rugby league, it's rugby union as well. There's some players that don't reach their full potential because they're seen as a utility player. If you look at someone who you were playing with, like Craig Wing, was he a halfback? Was he a 9? Was he a 14?
Kurt Gidley, all those players. Because Connor Watson obviously got told in the preseason, put on 5 kilos of muscle, and we're going to play you as a lock. They tried to copy off a Victor Radley type Cam Murray, Jake Trbojevic, and that hasn't worked. No, because I think most coaches are going for that third, the lock to be a ball player now. You can't have your Taumalolos and stuff like that. Very rare. You got your Jai Arrows and that you can slip back to lock, but he's mainly a front rower now. So they wanted Connor Watson to do that, and it's just that it just didn't fit. So then he had to sit back and enjoy the bench for as long as and you don't know when you're going to get on the bench. You don't have a role. So maybe Robbo said, look, you come down here, you're going to be, I don't know, I'm not sure. What do you think? I think he's still going to come down to Sydney and he's going to be on the bench again.
I honestly think that if you look at the Roosters, you look at the positions that he's played in the past. He's played halfback, 5'8", fullback. Now he's got Sam Walker, Luke Keary, and Tedesco. He's played back row, number 13. So he's got Radley in front. I think he'll play 9. I think he'll be the starting 9 for the Roosters.
You got Verrills there. Verrills is a gun.
Yeah, Verrills is good. I don't know. He's good.
I think he'll be that. He'll be the option off the bench. That's it. He does not warrant to come down and start at 9.
Yeah,
he hasn't played enough games. Verrills is a 9.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, that's
what
it's hard they weren't that phased. Yeah, I mean, I just think something's gone sour in those meetings. He doesn't like something about Newcastle, where they're heading. So he'd rather play off the bench for a team that's going to have a shot in the finals. Yeah. He wants to play finals football. That's what it comes down to. He's taken less money to go to a club to play in the exact same position, but he's home. And he's at the club that he loves.
I just heard from the producer, Will. He was born in Dubbo and he moved to Avoca when he was 5. So there you go.
So we're nowhere near it.
Absolutely.
So he's a Roosters boy. So he's a Clyde Valley
Roosters Junior. He played for the Crocodiles. It's a great hunting ground. One thing, Will, that I would like to get your opinion on, obviously this year, and before we go into this bit, I just want to say, everyone who has kids or anyone who, has nieces or nephews or whatever, I think the kids have been the people that absolutely have just copped COVID. Well, I'm supposed to be in Mudgee this week for state schools rugby. Yeah. Finn, my little bloke, he's been looking forward to it. He just fronts up. He goes to school. He does his thing. He's not complaining about anything. They've had so many things ripped away from them. And one of the things that's been ripped away from them is sport. And I think sport's such an important part in kids' lives. So if you've got a son or a daughter or a niece or a nephew, just give them a cuddle and tell them you think they're amazing, because they've just handled it so well. But Phil Gould has come out with a thing, because there's been, similar to no schoolboy footy or whatever, there's been no Queensland Cup, New South Wales Cup, there's been no junior Reggies or whatever. So these blokes haven't been playing footy for 12 months. They've been training, they've been doing these things.
Oh, they played half the year this year.
Yeah, that's true. They played half the year. Yeah. They did play half the year. So what do you think about an idea that he has had where it's like they will play a comp at the end of the year? So I guess instead of doing preseason, they play sort of a whatever it might be, whether it's a small comp, or it gives them a chance to play some footy. It gives a chance for club recruiters to go out and have a look at it.
It's a good idea. I think it's good. I mean, Gus is always coming up with some great ideas, but I understand. I just try and picture, like when I first come down from Toronto West to Belmore in '98, I had to fight through that system, and they're the most important years, 17, 18, 19, to fight for your first grade spot. That's where all that hard work is done, and these kids haven't got that opportunity to fight for a spot. So just say if you're not in this top 35 being squad, you do not even get looked at. And even if you're coming through the system, you might have a really good 17, 18-year-old kid who needed to play the back end, and all that kind of stuff. And you might have been pushing towards the back end of the year and then going into next year. Those, opportunities have been taken away from these kids. So the development is a bit stagnated as at the time, which sucks. And I hope, and this is where a lot of recruitment officers are under the pump. You know what I mean? So I'll go back to just say schoolboy football. Like Australian schoolboys get played this year. And usually you pick all your best schoolboys come from that, or your next, the big future, massive future. You go, all right, well, I've got 17 players here. Pretty much, I reckon 80% of them play first grade. You don't get that. You don't get those trials. You don't get all the recruiters and the managements usually go down to Lyle Peacock in Toronto, and that's where the CHS trials are. Or they go to CCC, and then they all combine. It's massive for these kids. It's huge, and that's taken away from them as well. They don't get a chance to play Australian schoolboys. They don't get a chance to play in that Australian under-15s merit side. So you get a lot of this stuff taken away, and you can get really disheartened from the game and not even play. You know what I mean? People are going to get thrown different opportunities in life. You might lose them to AFL, you might lose them to rugby union or something like that, because even though they're not playing, they might just try other things. So we need to be important. The NRL clubs need to be hopefully really focus on those young 17, 18, 19 guys, because you're a raw kid, you know what I mean? And yet all these opportunities have been taken away from you. You got to keep them motivated. And I'm I don't know the answer to that, but if you do something next year and reward them for, the shit show, what's happening right now, I don't know, maybe it's all right for these young kids. But it's a very, very important time of their career. I can only remember when I just come down from Toronto, and I was just shocked at how hard the training is, how crazy Sydney is. You can't acclimate to anything. Imagine and all you can think about is playing football. That's your only outlet. Most kids want to go home. They want to do this, but your main thing is football, and that gets taken away from you. You might go home. If you're a country kid, you're going home.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know what I mean? So you need to be it's really important. And that's where the development officers and the recruitment officers, they'll earn their money this year.
And it's true too, because there's so many blokes that I was coming through with that in those formative years, sort of 17, 18, 19, had injuries and never really got back. You almost need those years to be really a flow on into what you're doing now. And if you have a little setback, then I'm not talking about myself necessarily, but I blew my knee straight out of school, and that put me a year behind everybody else because I was out.
So sorry, just imagine if you're a young kid now and you done your ACL round 10 or round 1.
Yeah.
And then you can't go to, I'm not sure. It's just you
got nothing.
It sucks. You got no car. There's a lot of variables in there. I've seen, no one had it. There's only one person had a car when we were younger. We all should jump in that. Imagine if he's gone. You're catching buses and trains and that everywhere. Then the COVID stuff is hitting. So it's not ideal, but everybody's going through it. I mean, if you're going to make it, you're going to make it. You're going to be dedicated in every aspect. But it's very hard. These kids are going through a hard time from under 10s all the way up to, reserve grade, first grade. Yeah. I mean, I hope to God you never hear any NRL player whinging about how hard it is. You get to play your sport up there on the Gold Coast, sit in the sun, and all you got to do is play, turn up the train, be a good human, and get paid. That's the dream job in Australia at the moment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's true.
We're all stuck here. So they've got. It just sucks. It would suck being a young 17, 18, 19-year-old thinking that you're nearly close to first grade, and then bang. Another year. Stay positive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's important. I think, everybody does need to stay positive. And what we would like to say...
how to have role models and mentors at that age as well. It's very important that the senior players play some sort of role with these young kids. It's very, very important. If you got a phone call from a Tyson Frizzell or a Daniel Saifidi or Payne Haas and all that, try and encourage you. You know what I mean? To say that, to stay on that stay on the path. Because a lot of these kids will go off the path. It's very easy.
It's
harder to stay on.
Yeah. All right, William. Well, what we have got this week, we've got the big fella's back. He's had the birth of his child. He's basically had no sleep for the last 2 weeks. He looks awful. No, he looks all right. Thanks to bettingsite.com.au. Harry, welcome, mate. Congratulations. We haven't spoken to you face to face since.
Guys, it's great to be back.
Harry.
Thanks for the well wishes.
Mate, more than welcome. And let me tell you, you are in for quite the treat. Being a dad is the greatest thing of all time, other than being on this show. Probably the second best thing I've ever done in my life, having a kid, other than being on this show. Mate, we were all so close last
So
week.
far.
We were so close. It was, I don't know. I've got the sheet here in front of me from the producer, and we all lost by one leg in our multis.
You by half
I'm going to
a
ring
point.
up Daniel Tupou. I'm going to ring up and just racially abuse him because he cost me my multi. That's
Half
what you
a
do
point
now,
for
isn't
me.
it? Isn't that
That's
how
what
you
you
do
do.
it? That's
You
what
can't
you do.
have
message.
you can't have a Tongan on Tongan crime. We can't have
Yeah.
that.
No, that's
way.
right.
No.
Tongans need to be kind to each
Toops,
other.
come
at the
on,
moment.
man. You're better than that. Come on, Toops.
0.5 of a point, Harry. That makes me feel sick.
That's the
that
second
you,
time
Bernard?
that's happened to you this year too, Ian.
I
Remember
know.
Jake Clifford's kick at goal?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
You're a
that's-
Knights supporter. I blame you
the half a
wholeheartedly.
point. Yeah. So that ruined you as well. So
But mate,
you don't like dealing
this
in
week-
halves. Looking at your bet, you're not dealing in halves this week. So
mate, I'll tell you what. I had a look. I've gone right into it this week because I just feel like I've been robbed. I've been robbed by bad decisions. Anyway. I don't want to go into my sob story because everybody. Yeah, I know it's unfair.
All one
it's
out.
Unfair. I don't know if anyone's following my bets, but let me tell you, this is the greatest bet of all time.
Your
I've
one?
called it
What
early.
is it? What is it?
I've got Roosters 1-12 against a full strength Dragon side, and I've got
Okay.
Tigers 1-12.
I cannot believe that you are getting $13.12 from Sportsbet for this.
Right?
That's an incredible.
$13.
A two-legger. You're getting
That's pretty good.
$13 for that. It's
Right.
that is something. Well, the Tigers versus Sharks is virtually a loser leaves town game. Yeah. Mathematically, the team drops out. So, the Tigers got a bit iffy in the last 15 minutes or so against the Cowboys last week. I think a few of their fans started to go, "Oh no, not again." But the Sharks as well, they were devastated after that game. Maybe they
should have won. They should have won. They lost that game.
Yep.
Newcastle didn't win it.
Yep, 100%. And that's 2 weeks in a row. The Sharks have you feel like they've given away games, and you don't can they get back up again, knowing that it's last chance saloon? Really?
Nope.
Yeah, you got to like the Tigers 1-12 in that, which is really good value. I'm not as confident on the Roosters, but they didn't play that well against Brisbane. Maybe they're sort of starting to run out of. They're running on fumes a bit now with all their injuries and stuff like that. So I think that's where you've gone with that. And
No Radley. They're out of juice.
no Radley either. That's the big one for them, is because when Radley plays, their attack is just so much better. And
Anyway.
yeah.
All right. Well, my
Big
bet,
hope.
which will
You're
get
an
up,
absolutely big hope.
I'm very close. I have no idea about betting, but I've been that close for the last couple of weeks, haven't I, Burner?
You have been extremely close, William. What have we got this week?
Anyway,
Well, look,
South Sydney's on the line. West Tigers. I'll take the line at the West Tigers. Total match points, Dragons and Roosters over 49.5. And Hayes Dunster, anytime try scorer.
The Dunster.
The Dunster.
What a name. Where
Bit
did
to
I pick that
unpack
from?
here.
I just went like that. Boom.
All right. Well, seeing as you've put it in like that, you're destined to win.
I can't hear you.
We've lost the big fella.
He's frozen.
He's gone. He's frozen. So we'll go straight to the producer's bet. I don't even know what odds you got because I didn't write them down.
I think it's like $11.45.
Was it? Good.
I think so.
That's not a bad bet.
You froze for a
$11.91.
bit. 11.
There you go. He's back.
Yeah,
$11.91.
back.
Right.
Yeah, $11.91 at Ladbrokes.
Oh,
All right.
sweet.
So the
That's good.
producer has gone back to AFL. The only thing he's won on so far is a couple of flum bets on the Olympics, and the Olympics are dead now. And I don't know if he's going to back the Paralympics or not, but we're going Melbourne 1-39. What a low sport when that's a bet. 1-39. What does that even mean? Luke Jackson, anytime goal kicker, and Max Gawn, he's anytime goal kicker too. So, Luke, Max, Melbourne, what do you reckon, Harry?
$10.75 sports bet. They're in on that one. Melbourne, the Demons, the perennial just bottom first in the AFL this year, I'll have you know. So there's a little bit happening there. So $10.75. Then Max Gawn, one of their big superstar players in the ruck. $10 for us again. He's on a hot streak with the Olympics, and he's going back to the old girlfriend in the AFL. And I've gone unstable again.
Yeah. Do you know what? I feel like since you've had a child, you are hiding in the basement and trying to avoid waking the child up. And now
I've gone too far away from the router.
I think you might have. Now, Harry, what have you got for us this week?
All right, let's get this in quickly. Okay, so I have taken the Storm. Matt Burton to score at any time. Can you believe he's scored 15 tries this year? Alex Johnson.
I love him.
Alex Johnson to score at any time. The Knights 13+, and I've gone the opposite to you, Ian. I've gone the Roosters 13+ at $12.35.
Yes.
I may have forgotten that Radley's out, but that's too late. The bets are in. I can't revoke
I love it. I love it. There you go.
You know what? Traditionally, when one party goes against someone else, both people lose. That's been the experience that we've had so far. So you've just destroyed my bet and your own. Well done, Harry.
All right, yeah, everyone load up on the Dragons in that case. Yeah, so Ladbrokes have got on board here with $12.35 about that one. So
good stuff. Yeah. Well, mate, thank you very much. We've got about $4,000. We've actually started with the social media campaign to get everybody sending in their applications for not the award. It's not an award. We could do a certificate too, but you get cash. You get cold, hard cash from bettingsite.com.au. We're up about $4,000. That will definitely buy you some red frogs for the local canteen. So get involved. Send in your applications. Harry, thank you, mate. Good luck with fatherhood, and we'll see you next week.
I need it. Thanks very much, guys, and hopefully we get a win.
Yes,
we will. We'll get 4. Thanks, mate. See you next week.
See you guys.
All right.
And
make sure you bet responsibly, guys. All right.
Just gamble responsibly.
Oh, did I say bet responsibly?
Yeah, we're gambling responsibly, though. We're going to gamble responsibly. Instead, we could do both.
Sure things.
Guaranteed. All right, mate. So let's go quickly now to what we've been doing, obviously, last couple of weeks. We got rid of the Broncos and the Bulldogs last week in the best of the worst. So the Cowboys are gone. They're finished for the year. Mm-hmm. It's been a very disappointing season for the Cowboys this year. They'll be extremely disappointed that they've just lost Corey Jensen. He's signed with the Brisbane Broncos recruitment guy, the bloke who brought you losing Reece Walsh and David Fifita. He's made up for it by signing Corey Jensen for 2 years. Yeah. So congratulations to all parties there.
Actually goes all right, that Jensen kid. He just needs a crack.
He's had a fair crack at the Cowboys, Will. So Todd Payton, is it his fault? Is it the culture up that joint? What's going on?
I don't think he started off that well by dropping Taumalolo.
No.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that culture up there. You know what I mean? So it's got to be on the coach. You can't put guys like Taumalolo, who's he's a spiritual leader. He's pretty much their captain. Like, he's their man. He's their best player. And you throw him on an edge. You muck around with him all year. Like, he just needs to be playing football. That's it. And I mean, granted, he's broken his hand 3 times this year, which sucks. But he should never have got off to that start. He should never have been playing off the bench. You just can't do that to this kid. He as I explained last week, with all these players, these great ball runners, they can't be on one side of the field because teams will game plan for you defensively. And that's what they did against Taumalolo. You know, like, he needs to be in the middle, just running wherever he wants, doing Jason Taumalolo things. And that's not a culture thing or a club thing. That's a coaching thing.
Is there any truth to the rumor that he keeps breaking his hand, punching Todd Payton in the face?
He's breaking the coach's door down.
Just let me at Todd Payton every time the team was Tuesday.
I don't understand that. I wouldn't mess with a kid like that. I wouldn't try and get his minutes down. I wouldn't say everything like that at the start of the year, trying to, he's playing 70, 80 minutes a game. Like you'd look after his minutes a little bit better. You're playing 30 minutes and 2 30-minute stints. You're not playing on an edge. You just got to handle things better.
Next year, they've signed Chad Townsend to steer him around the park. They haven't really signed anyone else. But he's a good buy. He's won a comp. He's a workman-like footballer. So what you're saying to Thomas Dearden, though, is that we don't trust you unless you play Scott Drinkwater, somewhere else. But I don't know. The Cowboys, congratulations.
Unless they play Val Holmes on the wing, which I don't think they will, and you put Drinkwater at fullback. Otherwise, you're putting Dearden on the bench or not in the team. You got Drinkwater at 5'8". I think he's a gun. He's a really good player. Yeah. I think Dearden's had enough cracks there. This game's ruthless, mate. Ruthless. And he'll come up there. They'll be all right. Peter Hiku's a good buy too. He's been really good for the Warriors the last couple of years. He's a good player. And he can play anywhere. Fullback, center, 5'8", anywhere. So he's a good person. He's a good dude.
Prop. Hooker. Everywhere. So let's have a quick look at the run home, because as we've said from the start, the top 6 sort of sorted itself out sort of mid-season, I guess. You're left with the Knights on 7th, the Titans on 8th, the Raiders at 9th, the Sharks at 10th.
Yeah.
The Dragons at 11th, they're going backwards. The Warriors 12th and the West Tigers 13th. Now, that's basically all on differential.
I forgot about the Warriors.
You've got the Knights at 22, the Titans, the Raiders, the Sharks. No, the Titans and Raiders are on 20. Then you've got the Sharks all the way down.
Everyone else on 18.
Everyone
else on 18.
Yeah. So, I don't know, Will. I can sort of see why people would say the top 8's too much, because there's sides that have lost more games than they've won that are sort of, that are pushing for this top 8. But I also understand from a TV perspective, they want to have as many finals games as possible. But there's no way in the world, whatever side finishes 8th is, and I've put this in a deck of the supercomputer.
7th and 8th. I don't think
0% chance of winning the comp. 0% chance of winning the comp. So what's the point of going through, all of these sides, they're good sides and it's interesting and who's going to make the 8 and that sort of thing, but they're not going to win the comp. So why not go back to a top 5 or whatever, give the minor premiers a week off, and then have some serious games of football deciding who's going to make the grand final.
It's all good in saying that, and it sounds good, and everyone goes, yeah, that sounds better, but it's not the fact. The fact is that we've signed our soul away, and we have to play those games. Yeah. Simple. We have to play 25, 26 games and everything like that. So, look at the amount of money that the game's earning. That means you guys play as many games as we say. I mean, we can say, we should be a top 6, it should be this. And then everything just gets longer, so the way it is now, I know it sucks because there's not 8 really good teams or 12 really good teams where, just say if we looked at those teams there, from 7 to 12, you're going, damn it. If Canberra get in, they could give it a crack. If the Tigers get in, they could give it a crack. Sharks, but all these teams that we just mentioned, they're not beating Melbourne or Penrith or South. Do you know what I mean? They're not beating them.
No way.
They're not. Simply, I don't think the Knights would have to have their best game ever to try and beat, to try and win that first semi-final. And if they do win that first semi-final, they're getting belted out the next, because those losers in the top 4 in that first round will come down and spank them the next week. That's the difference. Where if you thought, when you top 8, just say in the last 5 years, was pretty even. 8th could be, there's a couple of times where you're if it was 1 versus 8 in that old McIntyre system, you're like, yeah, they'll give you a good crack. You maybe Melbourne against the Titans. You saw that happen.
Yeah, it's horrific. And I think
it's 40 plus.
If I look at it from a fan's perspective, and I'm not, there's a lot of people that go to games and paint their faces and get, they're crying if their team loses. I don't personally get that. I love that people are, so invested in their team, but, no, but I mean, there's other things in your life you probably need to get worked up about. But if I look at my side and my side comes 8th and I go, I'm going to a finals game, the the insert team here made the finals. Did they really though? Like they've limped in, coming to 8th, and they're going to get pumped in the first week.
It's just the circumstances this week. I mean, this year. You know, I mean, you can't say that in the last couple of years. It's been pretty tight. You know, I mean, 7 and 8's always a little bit iffy, isn't it?
A little bit.
Like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, I've been in this position before where you're fighting for these last couple of games to try and mathematically win get in the top 8, but you're there for a reason. You're mediocre. You're a 10 and 10 side or even less, you know?
When did the top 8 start? When you were playing, like when you first started, was it top 8 then?
Yeah. It's always, I think when it all come together in 98, that's when the McIntyre system started, I think.
Yeah, right.
That's what it was called.
1 versus 8 then, wasn't it?
1 versus 8.
They didn't follow the AFL,
second versus 7. Yeah. It was only till the last couple of years it's been this new way.
Well, you kind of, I mean, I actually, now that I think about it, I actually prefer that system because you get rid of the shit side straight away. Not shit sides, that's not disrespecting sides that make the 8. Congratulations, everyone makes the 8. But
what it's given is the top 4 some advantage. If you make the top 4, you get 2 bites. So there was a couple of times there where we come second, we got beat by 7th and then beat again straight away. Like we were done or didn't. So we didn't even get a chance. So I think second played 7th, we got beat, and then another team beat the other team. So we were out.
Oh, you got out. Yeah.
So that sucked. That sucked. Then it happened a couple of times where a really good team, like who comes second or third, they lose that first round, which is, I think I never had a problem with it.
That wasn't the year.
In 2004. In 2004, we got beat in the first round, and that's when St George come third, and we bumped them out.
Oh, because you lost.
Yeah, because we lost. So they were the third. So and everyone thought we were doing it on purpose. We don't want to lose.
No one's to lose. Look, the other thing as well, if you look at other sports, they might have a plate and a bowl final. You know what I mean? If people really want to, why not have the top 4 playing off for a proper comp, and then you play your bowl, you get the Kellogg's.
Play for the bronze medal.
You pay the bronze. Have a bronze. It's no different, really.
Play for the Panasonic
bronze
Cup.
medal. That's right. Yeah. Bring that back midweek.
Bring it back.
So who do you reckon makes the 8? Looking at the sides that are in a chance with making the 8, who makes it?
Well, I look at Newcastle, and I think they've got a very easy run home. Bulldogs, Titans, and Broncos. Very winnable game. So those guys, they shouldn't even move. It should be 7th all the way. Then you look at the Titans, Storm, Knights, and Warriors. They're going to drop against the Storm, and and the Knights look like the Knights should beat them as well. But that's a 50-50 game. And then you got the Warriors. Depending on what the Warriors are like, if they win the next 2 games, then that third game it could be all up. That's the only thing that's interesting at this time of the year when you talk about shit teams like this. The Raiders. So the Raiders got the Eagles, the Warriors, and the Roosters. They could potentially win most of those games. If you win 2 out of 3, it's probably not going to be good enough. And then the Sharks, Tigers, Broncos, Storm, Dragons, Roosters, Cowboys, Rabbits, Warriors, Broncos, Raiders, Titans, Tigers, Sharks, Panthers, Bulldogs. You know what I mean? Like it's all pretty tough. So people who are trying to they're saying the season's over. These games they're fighting for a top 8 spot to try and salvage something during the year, because I don't know and even as go back to your first question, what team could make a run? None of them.
No.
Do you think? Am I just talking out of school?
No, genuinely no.
I don't think the Warriors, the Tigers, Dragons. I thought the Dragons could have about 10 weeks ago when they were full strength. Now they lost Ben Hunt, McCulloch. They're done. The Raiders are done. Titans and Knights. And I still don't think those 2 can give it a crack. But I'd like to see the Knights and the Titans 7 and 8. I don't want to see it change because I think they have enough talent in their team to give. If they do hit a bit of form, anything can happen. Do you know what I mean? Like the Knights have got that team. You got a formidable pack there. You got a good 9, a good halfback, great fullback, good bench. They've got that. They've got the makings of a good team. They just haven't put it all together because of injuries this year. But
I look at. I think the Knights.
I want to see what Fafita does. I want to see Fafita and Big Tino and Jared Wallace and all these big names. I want to see him stand up when it's when it's worth it. I want to see what they got, the Fodawaker and all these blokes.
I reckon the Tigers potentially should win.
Yeah, I think the Tigers got a good run.
Yeah, the Tigers have got a good run. So if they win 2, it'll probably go down to for and against. I don't know. If sides are getting decided in the top 8 on for and against, it's,
Well, that's what
it
there's
is.
twice in my career we got done in for and against. And that's when you go, damn it. Why did we let those 2 late tries in round 10?
Why did we switch off?
Yeah, push it up 30 and it's just like, 30 to 18, you're fine. That's when all these little things, Mad Monday, just start creeping up going, oh, remember we were 42-10 up and it ended up 42-30? Then that's when the for and against starts smacking you in the face.
Remember when I had the penthouse suite and you didn't? Remember when
Do you remember that?
Remember that?
You and your 3 kids in the dungeon. And I had the suite, and I had the penthouse, and I have no kids or wife. Do you remember that?
In the basement with Harry.
Because I'm on $1 million a year. Because I'm on $1 million a year.
$1 billion.
Hi, Tiana from the Green Room podcast here. Join me with an exclusive backstage pass featuring in-depth conversations and a bunch of personal and crazy stories from around the world, with some of the biggest names in music, film, comedy, and everything in between. These definitely aren't your average interviews. Come join me in the Green Room. Presented by the Handshake Agency. Check it out at thepodcast.com.au.
All right, William, you know who should be getting $1 million a year?
Who's that?
The big boys.
Yes.
Ooh, nice.
Willie's big boy.
Yeah. All right, guys. Willie's big boys this week. It was every single week. I've got to watch every single game because it's been crazy every year. I mean, every single week, these guys just come out, they do their work, they get it done. This week, 1 point, Jake Trbojevic. Just because his stats doesn't mean he didn't make over 100 meters or anything. He played it, I think, close to 70 minutes. I think over 40 tackling involvements. He's well over 90% efficient. But his ball handling around the ruck and getting his big boys to run off him, like Big Marty Tapau and a few other blokes, I forget their names, but they've got some young sides, but they've got some young bulls. Like the back rollers are big and strong. So he's that extra ball player. He's their Victor Radley and Cam Murray. He's got silky skills, and the way that he gets, like how he gets the ball first receiver, dummies across, got a lead player, and then back out the back to Cherry Evans, and they hit those edges where every time that Tom Trbojevic skinned it, who's the first bloke with the ball? It's always Jake. Watch it all the time. And then Tommy just goes off his timing. 2 points. Junior Totola was outstanding on the weekend against the Gold Coast. I think he's been out for a little bit, so that's why that Nichols has been starting. Well over 200, I think, close to 200 meters, over 20 touches, 30 tackles. He was outstanding. I think he's that X factor. You know what I mean? Like he's that X factor in that pack with good leg speed, good late offload, and he could pass the ball. So if they start playing as a team, they're the ones that might give it to the Storm. We'll touch on that, in the semifinals and stuff. But my 3 points, Isaac Liu for the Roosters. You see him play? We came well over 200 meters, like I think 70 minutes. I don't think people understand the minutes that these guys are playing in the middle is ridiculous, and how quick the game is, and what is asked of these middlemen. People wouldn't understand it unless you played in the middle. So I understand it better than anyone. The work that these guys are getting through, and the quality of work, the efficiency of their tackling is all have to be over. I know they have to be over 90%. So people at home, like you don't just make a tackle. You got to be in the tackle. You got to win the tackle to be efficient. You know what I mean? You need to win your tackle. When I say 90% efficient tackler, that means you win 9 out of 10. You're on their back. Like it's ridiculous. And all these guys that I mentioned, I take into account everything like that. These guys are animals, man. Well over 200 meters and just these ball playing skills. And he's going to be really good for the Titans next year. So definitely. That's the big boys for this week. They've been outstanding all year. But there's a different mix this week.
Well, yeah, it is interesting because the leaderboard at this stage, it's got Payne Haas on 19 votes. It's got James Fisher-Harris, who's had a couple of weeks off, on 17 votes. And it's got Junior Paulo on 13. There's only 3 rounds to go.
And the only thing I take into account, Payne Haas will nearly be on every single one, but they keep losing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got to take into account that. You know, like he probably played a little bit better than Isaac Liu, but they won. The Roosters won, and it was a head-to-head game.
This sounds.
And Takayahau played good too.
You're starting to sound a little bit like when Des Hasler pulled out the Moneyball book to give reasons why Aiden Tolman was better than you. I don't know.
Way better. Just look at the stats. He's way better.
Stats. So Payne Haas is in front. It's going to be pretty close towards the end. And a big thank you once again to Young Henrys. For those of you at home that don't know, everybody whoever wins this gets a case of Young Henrys a week.
A week.
Oscar, big guy. I'm currently drinking Noble Cut Gin straight because I've run out of beer. So, and it's a good gin too. I don't know if anyone likes gin out there, but get involved. So James Fisher Harris, he's back from the birth of his first child. What better way to celebrate the birth of your child than by eating a Bondi Tony's burger and drinking Young Henrys? Good on you. Thanks to both
some
those
body
people.
science stuff to rip all that excess off.
We'll eat it for you. Bondi Tony's is out there doing its best. Go and get a burger from them because it's really difficult. The longer this lockdown goes, the harder it is for your most beloved restaurants to stay open. So for everyone who's there, go and get a burger from Bondi Tony's. It's the best burger you'll have, and also you'll be supporting a fantastic local business if you live in your LGA in the eastern suburbs. Otherwise, don't go there because you get arrested. All right, William. Tips for this week.
What are mine?
Have you?
I'll show you.
20. Which round are we going to do this week?
So I've got Storm, Eagles, Rabbits, Tigers, Knights, Para, Roosters, Broncos.
I think I've got the same.
Oh, is that it?
That's it. I've got exactly the same as you. Because
have you really?
we are genuinely just extremely smart about everything. And also for note in that I am 7 ahead of the producer who has once again proven that he knows nothing about anything. He's really, I don't know, he can't bet.
He's struggling a little bit now, isn't he?
Struggling badly. He's gone back to AFL. Bloke's got nothing. But anyway, I'm in front, so that's good. Well, that concludes another week of The Take with Willie and Ian. I probably shouldn't have been drinking straight gin because we've got to the end of the show and I don't want to stop talking, but I'm going to. I'd like to
crying. I'll
go and cry in a second. Thanks to bettingsite.com.au. Thanks to everyone for listening. Please provide us with some feedback. We'd love to know what we're doing that you like, what we don't do that you would like us to do.
It's not a PSA, guys, but just try and stay healthy. Get outside, walk. You know, obviously social distance, but you've got to be outside. You've got to stay healthy and fit. Don't stay inside. You know what I mean? Like there's zero transmissions outside. Go for a walk. Do this. Stay healthy. Eat well. Do everything well. Don't fall into that hole that everyone's doing it. You know, it's just an excuse. Just take this moment now and turn it into a positive. We're all going through it. So just be wary of everybody's mental health and, just ask questions. See if everybody's all right. It's a tough time for everyone.
Yeah, it's awful. And make sure if you've got any comments or anything at all, we genuinely do look at all our social media stuff. So get us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it might be. Send us through questions. Maybe next week we can have a section where we answer some questions if you send them in, because we'd love to hear from you and we want to engage with you. And everyone stay safe.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Keep well.
I'll be following Willie more and more. Back in the NRL is Willie Mason.
I've forgotten how big Willie actually is.
Perhaps the presence of Willie had the Panthers looking at his imposing frame.
I'm a 25-minute man. Oh, you got skill, son.
Uppercut right hand by Big Willie.
You've been listening to The Take with Willie Mason and co-host Ian Byrne. Produced by Craig Trewick, recorded and engineered by Zig Parker of Green Room Sydney, and presented by the Handshake Media Network.